I had hair then. When I first came to university, up years told me that student life gets pretty busy, and I would have to try and balance between schoolwork, social life, and sleep. This has been an interesting model to frame the last 4 years of my experience with, where at different times the balance of these fluctuated quite dramatically. It wasn't until recently that I realized that this model is increasingly compromised to a fourth category of time use. We're spending more and more of our time operating in this space, though it's seldom referred to in what our days should look like, and even what they do look like. Slowly but surely, it has positioned itself as a new pillar of our time, without many of us realizing it. This new pillar is digital device use. It's not only that device use doesn't fit into this rough model, where we're balancing between our social life, dedication to work, and need for sleep, but that its effects on these aspects range from mere interference to total debilitation. Even though I'd operated with a basic flip phone for the last 4 years, I didn't realize how addicted I actually was to the applications on my laptop alone. YouTube, Netflix, Facebook, Pornhub. That's all a digital chimp like myself really needed to feel the side effects in these other aspects of my life. It wasn't until I totally disconnected and got rid of the laptop that I realized the absurdity of my own behaviors and the behaviors of people around me. It's the absurdity of holding yourself up in your room with your devices and a plate of food, trying to find something to watch while you eat. It's staying up until 3 in the morning, binge watching a show, or going down the recommendations rabbit hole. It's waking up with your device beside you in bed, or at least within arm's reach, and for the first moments of your day, scrolling through your social media. It's the panic that overtakes you when you can't feel your phone in your pocket. It's this vacuous state of never being fully alone with your thoughts, free from input, while struggling to feel the peaks of real social connection and community, because there's always this impulse to reach into your pocket, and if not, isolate yourself to feed that impulse. Just from what I've gathered from my peers and my own past, these seem like fairly common experiences. They're certainly not unheard of. It made me wonder, what's going on with our generation? There's got to be some totalizing effect of all this device use, some new, never-before-seen set of consequences that all lead back to this fundamental change. It feels like all of a sudden, devices have positioned themselves along the foundations of our livelihoods. Nearly all of us habitually consume without questioning the fact that these technologies have crept into the heart of nearly everything we do, remolding our social and solitary lives. It turns out if you were born between 1995 and 2012, you're part of a generation Dr. Jean Twenge calls IGen. We are the first generation to be subjected to these technologies and their applications. We're the rats in the experiment, so to speak. And as such, our generation is largely defined by a relationship with this technology. IGen are different in several ways from Gen X and millennials, some of which I take to be intuitively positive. We're less religious, and we emphasize tolerance and equality much more. Other trends are more alarming, particularly in the decline of our mental health. IGen are more likely to feel lonely, inadequate, more likely to have a major depressive episode. And what's particularly troubling is the dramatic increase in the suicide rate in IGen teens. IGen are spending their time much differently than their parents and grandparents. We read less, we do less homework, we're less likely to go to the movies or malls as often, we're less likely to get our driver's license, we sleep less, we drink less and have less sex, which you wouldn't guess by the state of Aberdeen, but that's just how the data reads. In short, we're replacing our time spent with one another and with slower analog media with time spent on devices. Take the film Kids by Harmony Korine. Set in the 90s, it follows a group of New York City teenagers, their time primarily defined by just hanging out, straying from one circle of friends to the next, often allied to a close friend, exploring sex, drugs, and alcohol with little parental supervision. The movie was filmed in 1995, the year that marked IGen, a youth which tended to be very different from that depicted in Kareem's film. Today, the likelihood of a teen seeing their friend every day has been cut in half in the last 15 years. The average high school senior is spending 6 hours a day on new media devices. This all seems to be strongly correlated with the decline in our mental health. We can't replace the kind of in-person experiential learning that allows us to mature and adapt to the stresses of life with a life spent online. And we really can't replace the kind of real, in-person connection and community with its digitized form. If the data is so clear about the relationship between our happiness and our device use, then why are we still using them to the extent that we are? The answer is simple, because Facebook, Apple, and other technology companies make money off of your attention. The reason it's so difficult to disconnect is because these corporations have every motive to the opposite effect. It's not because we don't know that device use makes us unhappy. It's worth mentioning here that the only reason I was able to fully disconnect was because my laptop broke by accident. And when it did, I was ecstatic because the option to disconnect was just granted to me by mere chance. It wasn't only a matter of having the willpower, it was having the psychological space to imagine what a life without instant access to technology would look like, a reevaluation of my values and aspirations. From the inside of habitual device use, it's very difficult to truly grasp the degree with which it's affecting your life. This is by design. But once an actual physical separation was created, I felt like I was seeing the landscape around me for the first time, peering over the ruts I was stuck in and seeing new possibilities. However, this isn't quite what you'd imagine an active, fair consumer choice would look like. Take the like button on Facebook or Instagram. This button is one of the main hooks of these platforms because it takes advantage of our desire for social feedback. It feels really good when a lot of people like your post. But it's a gamble because not every post does as well, which uses the power of intermittent positive feedback to keep us posting. A similar feedback system is used in notification algorithms as well. Every time you open your phone, it's like rolling the dice. Beyond this, the like button allows a platform to create a profile of your tastes and preferences, sharing that data across platforms so that your feed is full of a consistent stream of advertisements you're more likely to click on, which makes that platform more money. And for a platform like YouTube, gives you things you're most likely to watch, keeping your attention so you see more advertisements. Making a rational choice is increasingly difficult when our products aren't in the business of maximizing reason-based decision-making. This is an ethical crisis alone for the effects it's having on this generation's well-being. But I also want to claim that device use can shroud our drive for self-actualization. As the pinnacle of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, self-actualization is the drive to become everything that one is capable of becoming. One of the ideals of the modern individual is discovery. Discovery of those things that make us who we are, our values and passions from which we can derive a meaningful life. With the steady retreat of religion and traditional social scripts, it's necessary to fill the void they've left behind by internalizing their function. Your path, beliefs, and conduct are no longer given at birth. You're charged with discovering your true, authentic self and its direction. The process of discovery can unfold in a variety of ways, in dialogue with art, literature, and science, in conversation and connection with other people, in creative self-expression, and particularly in periods of solitude, alone with your thoughts. And naturally, there are things that distract us from this process, that constrict our possible ranges of experience and fulfillment of potential. Just one of these is the chaos of thoughts that define most of our inner lives, from the moment we wake up to the moment we fall asleep. Thoughts that we exist in and identify with and can't get out of. It's very difficult to gain control over ourselves in this way, to cultivate a kind of watchfulness by which you examine your thoughts, beliefs, and reactions to things. All you have to do is encounter pettiness in a middle-aged person to realize that wisdom and thoughtfulness don't just unintentionally happen with age. It's also very difficult to just appreciate the ordinariness of the things around you, the mere scraps of conscious experience. In an interview, Chris Cornell said that he didn't need there to be a god or a spiritual realm for the simplicity of a banana to inspire awe in him. This is to look at things with a fresh pair of eyes, like you've never seen them before. To let go of all the presumptions that cloud the possible layers of reality surrounding something as simple as a banana or a door handle or the steam coming off a mug of coffee. To just appreciate the quality of your immediate experience. Broadening this perspective from the mere sensational to ideas, relationships, and your own state of being is to open up an entire portion of reality that we're not privy to when we're lost in our thoughts and caged by our presumptions. What's so troubling is that being internally distracted by your own thoughts is bound to habitual device use because it keeps us in an external state of compulsive distraction, a really well-designed compulsive distraction, adding another layer of fog to our experience. It doesn't take a philosophy student in Levi's to tell you that you're going to die. Still, it's the fact of our mortality that shrinks all those things in life, except only those that are worth spending a single life pursuing. Fear of making a radical change is a misevaluation of what's really important. Fully accepting death is also accepting those things, those radical decisions that align you with those things worth spending a single life doing. Convenience, entertainment, popularity, are these things going to make the cut? This all carries with it a kind of urgency which can't be ignored, an urgency for clarity and direction. The reason I was so happy when my laptop broke is because my biggest fear is living in this fog, realizing before it's too late that I'd wasted the precious time that I'd been granted, a slave to my own pettiness and insecurities, a slave to cheap entertainment and the frivolity inspired by device use, and that my life had become demystified and flat. Though I'm not totally free from that fear, I'm at least freer than I was to live the way I choose. Digital devices have the potential to be valuable, only insofar as they are means to our ends. So far, they've encroached into places they have no business being, disrupting our relationships with each other, as the trends of IGen describe, and with ourselves. And so far, we've been a means to their end, which is money. I don't have the answer to these problems, but it almost certainly starts with seriously considering how the device in your pocket or on your desk at home or attached to the television set in front of your bed is shaping how you spend your time, that precious commodity we only get so much of. Thank you.